Good day, everyone. I'm Mariel Mapiot, and together with me are Jed Manampan, Shan Magilimutan, and Morex Ohata. We're the Group 6, and we're going to discuss Lesson 6, the Processor Organization. Let's begin with understanding what a processor or CPU really is. The processor is the logic circuitry that responds to and processes the basic instructions that drive a computer. It's considered the main and most important integrated circuit chip in a computer. So mao gini ang nagdala sa tanan nga trabaho. The CPU is responsible for interpreting most of the computer's commands. It performs arithmetic, logic, and input-output operations. Meaning, siya ang nag-calculate, nag-compare, o nag-control sa mga input and output sa computer. It also allocates commands to other components. So everything inside the system works in coordination. So in simple terms, the CPU is the brain of the computer. Kung wala siya, dili mo lihok ang uban nga parts. Next, let's talk about processor organization. So this refers to how the processor is structured and what needs to do to perform tasks efficiently. So the CPU goes through a process called the instruction cycle, so which includes 5 steps. So first, it fetches the instruction from memory. Second, it interprets or decodes the instruction to know what action is required. Third, it fetches the necessary data from memory or I/O. Fourth, it processes the data. So for example, by performing arithmetic or logical operations. And lastly, it writes the data back to memory or an I/O module. So during this process, the processor must store data temporarily. So for example, it needs to remember the location of the last instruction so it knows where to go next. So dapat na ay small internal memory, which is where registers come in. Now, let's discuss major components of the processor. So, the CPU is made up of three main parts. First, the arithmetic and logic unit or ALO. So, mao ni ang naghandle sa computation. So, it performs arithmetic like addition, subtraction, and logic operations such as comparing numbers. Second, the control unit. So, this is the one that controls the flow of data and instructions. So the control unit acts like the traffic controller. So telling the ALO what operation to perform and where data should go. Third, we have the registers. So these are very small but extremely fast memory locations inside the CPU. So they are used to hold data temporarily while the processor is executing an instruction. So as we can see in the diagram, these three components are connected through the system bus, so which allows them to communicate with other parts of the computer, such as memory and input-output devices. So in summary, the ALO does the processing. The CU or the control unit controls the process and the registers store the temporary data. So together, they form the heart of the processor. So mao ni ang nagtrabaho behind every operation in our computer.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Um, let's proceed to the more detailed view of the internal structure of the processor. So, this shows how data and controls signal flow between its major internal components. Uh, it expands on the basic CPU diagram by including data transfer path or logic control paths and several internal processing elements that make CPU capable of executing instructions. So, at the core of this, in this figure, at the core of this structure, we have the internal CPU bus, which serves as the main communication channel inside the CPU. It connects the registers, the ALU or the arithmetic and logic unit, and the control unit or the CU. This allows them to exchange data more faster. Because the ALU can only operate on data stored inside the processor, the internal bus is essential para sa pag-transfer sa data between sa register ug sa ALU during the instruction execution. So, uh, if you notice, inside the LU, we have its basic elements. First is we have the arithmetic and Boolean logic. Um, this part of LU, it performs the actual computations. It consists of two functional sections, which is the arithmetic logic handles, arithmetic logic, or the which handles the operations such as addition, subtraction, increment, decrement. And next is the Boolean logic, which performs logical operations like and, or, not, SOR, and some comparisons. These two sections allows the CPU to process between numerical data and logical decisions, forming the foundation of all computer processing. Next is we have the shifter. The shifter is another element within the LU, uh, which performs bit manipulation operations. It shifts or rotates bit in a data word to the left or right. um, Shifting is also used for tasks such as multiplying or dividing numbers by powers of 2, aligning data bits for specific operations, and supporting logical operations like rotate through query. So, by integrating the shifter sa ALU, the CPU can perform these operations. Mas paspas maka-operate ang CPU uh, within the same instruction cycle. So next is we have the status flag or the condition flag. As we all know, uh, status flags are zero flag, carry flag, sign flag, overflow flag. Um, so after each operations, the LU ga-produce og status information about sa result, which is na-store sa status flag nga register. So kini siya nga flag, it represents the condition or outcomes sa operation, and ginagamit siya by the control unit or other instructions para himo og decisions. So next, registers in the processor. Within the processor, a set of registers serves as very high-speed memory, nga ga-function above cache ug sa main memory. So, these registers play a crucial role in the overall performance sa CPU. Kay ga-provide man sila og fastest nga possible nga access sa data ug sa instruction nga gina-process currently. So unlike the main memory, ga-require siya og more time para sa data retrieval ug sa ah, iyang data retrieval. So ang registers, they are located directly within the processor, allowing for rapid data transfers between processor's internal components kato ganina sa ALU ug sa control unit. So tungod ani, ang registers, they are essential para sa mas paspas ug sa smooth nga execution sa instruction within the processor. So the registers inside the processors generally perform in two main roles. Kini sila user visible registers and uh, control status registers. So first is the user visible registers. They are those that can be directly accessed by programmers through assembly or machine language instructions. Uh, They are designed to minimize the number of main memory references since ang paggamit sa register kay ga-hold siya og temporary data variables or addresses. It is much faster sa kumpara sa pag-fetch og memory pag-fetch og information gikan sa main memory. So, these registers, puwede siya ang user visible registers puwede siya, mahimong general purpose registers, which is used for arithmetic or logical, operations or special purpose such as, index registers, stack pointers, or segment pointers nga ga-assist sa memory addressing ug sa data management within the, uh, processor. So, on the other hand, natay control and status registers. They are primarily used by the control unit and the operating system to manage the and para makamonitor sa internal activities sulod sa CPU. So, these registers are responsible for maintaining information about the state sa processor, controlling instruction execution, handling exceptions or interrupts. For example, including uh, program counter or PC which keeps track of the next instruction to execute, uh, instruction registers which kanang ga-hold siya og current instruction nga gina-process, uh, and then the program status word which is the or PSW, which contains importance flag and condition codes indicating the use of previous operations or current operating mode sa processor. So, it is also important to note nga uh, there is not always a clear separation between user visible registers ug sa control and status registers. Kay sa uban nga processor architectures like 8086 family, uh, certain registers such as like the program counter, they may be accessible sa mga programmers, while in others they are strictly reserved for the system level use lang. So this overlapping functionality depends na lang sa processor's design and level sa control allowed sa software nga gadagan. So overall, these registers form a vital part para sa uh, execution sa instructions para sa CPU or processor. So next is pipelining. So ang pipelining, it is a technique used by the processors para mapa-speed up ang instruction execution by allowing multiple instructions to be processed simultaneously. So instead of executing one instruction at a time from start to finish, the processor divides the instruction cycle into several stages, such as fetching, decoding, determining operand addresses, fetching operands, uh, executing, or writing the results. So each stage perform a specific part of the instruction. Once one stage is complete, the instruction moves to the next stage while a new instruction enters the first stage. So this process is similar sa assembly line where the different parts of a task are handled in parallel. So as a result, kung mapuno na ang pipeline, multiple instructions are in progress at uh, different stages, which greatly increases CPU efficiency and overall throughput niya. However, ang effectiveness sa pipelining kay maapektuhan siya sa instruction dependencies ug sa branching. So kung ang instruction kay gadepend sa result sa previous ones or ang branch changes the program flow, the pipeline may need to pause or discard partially processed instructions. So galid siya og performance delays. So mao ni siya ang ginatawag nato nga pipeline hazards. So para ma-minimize ni siya nga issues kang ang mga modern processors, they use techniques such as branch predictions, data forwarding, sa pa ba? Data detection para ma-maintain ang smooth og ang continuous ang instruction flow. So despite these challenges, pipelining remains fundamental feature gyapon sa processor architecture kay ga-allow siya nga maka-execute ang CPU og instruction nga mas paspas og ah, mas magamit niya og tarong ang mga lain nga internal components niya. So that's all.
So, in this slide, we are to explain the ARM organization overview, which is ARM processors come in different versions like ARM V6 or ARM V8, but natanan share like same basic structure like in this figure 3, now which we will tackle later. That shows the simplified setup, and it also highlights how instructions and data move inside the processor from fetching in memory to execution under the control unit. So next slide is data flow inside the processor. So data moves through the data bus, now which connects the external memory to the processor. So ang control unit directs this movement na mag-ensure siya sa instruction are fetched, decoded, and executed properly. So ang instruction decoder translates fetch instructions with pipeline logic allow multiple instructions to be processed in overlapping stages na mag-improve siya sa speed and efficiency. So, next is register file and data representation. So, in ARM uses a register file consisting of several 32-bit registers where data and results are temporarily stored during execution. So, ang mga smaller data types like bytes or half words are extended siya paingon siya to 32 bits using two's complement representation na para mag-ensure na that even smaller values are handled properly during calculations. So next slide is ARM data processing path. So in most ARM instructions, there are two source registers, RN and RM, and one destination register, which is RD. These supply and receive data from ALU or ALU or the multiply accumulate unit. Before entering the ALU, RM can be shifted or rotated using barrel shifter. And it all happens within one instruction cycle. So which pasabutan ni ang ARM are both fast and efficient. Next is operation output and memory access. Excuse me. After processing, the result is written back to the destination register, which is ang RD. In load store operations, the CPU can also use the ALU's output to form the memory address for the next operation. So kani para maka-help siya na may streamline ang kani tanan maka-help siya bitaw para may streamline ang instruction execution as the processor can compute data and addresses simultaneously. So pwede rin madungan o compute para may mong efficient siya para sa dali na siya sa next cycle. So, mo ni ang diagram sa simplified ARM organization. So, ngayon siya, na siya mga key components which is ang external memory, memory address register, or memory buffer register, dito user register file R0 to R15, ALU, barrel shifter, control unit or CPSR, multiply accumulate unit, and instruction decoder or instruction. So, sa kanyang diagram, nag-show siya na how all parts interact. So, from the external memory, nag-store siya og data instructions, tapos ang sa register, gold siya og temporary data. While ang ALU, barrel shifter, and multiply accumulate unit, mo ang handle sa computations. Next is the control unit and the instruction decoder. Mo na siya mag-manage sa sequence sa operation, which is na kaning arrow. Nid-indicate siya kung unsa ang pag-move sa data between these units na ga-perform siya ang overall instruction pipeline. And that's all for me. Next slide.
So now we're going to talk about the processor modes of the ARM architecture. So each mode changes the processor's operating environment, specifically controlling how it sees and manages system memory and the tasks running on it. Unlike simpler processors that might only have a user and a kernel mode, the ARM architecture is designed with 7 different execution modes. This provides a flexible foundation for operating systems to implement advanced security and protection policies. Now, the most common mode is user mode. This is where all of your standard application programs run, like your web browser or word processor. For security and stability, user mode is heavily restricted. A program running in user mode cannot access protected system resources directly, and it cannot switch to another mode on its own. The only way to escape this user mode is by triggering an exception, which we'll discuss in. Now let's talk about privileged modes and system mode. So ARM has 6 of these, and they are used exclusively for running system software like the operating system kernel. The main difference is that these modes have full access to all system resources and can change modes freely. Among these 6 privileged modes, 5 are known as exception modes, and the 6th is a special one called system mode. So system mode is unique. It's a privileged mode, meaning it has full system access, but it uses the exact same set of registers as user mode. So why is it useful? So it allows the operating system to run privileged tasks that need to access system resources without the overhead of entering through an exception. It's also used when the OS needs to access user mode register state directly. It's a best of both worlds scenario for efficient OS design. So you might wonder, why have so many different privileged modes? There are 2 principal advantages: flexibility and performance. So let's talk about it. The flexibility. The operating system can tailor its response to different situations. Handling a memory fault is different from handling a hardware interrupt, and having dedicated modes allows for specialized handling. And second is the performance. Each of the exception modes has some of its own dedicated registers. This means when an exception occurs, processor can immediately switch to using these dedicated registers without having to save the user mode's register state to memory first. This allows for much faster context switching and interrupt handling. Exception modes. So exception modes are entered when specific exceptions occur. Each has dedicated registers to preserve user mode state. So these are the exception modes: supervisor mode, abort mode, undefined mode, fast interrupt mode, and interrupt mode. So supervisor mode, this is the standard mode for the operating system. It's typically entered when the processor executes a software interrupt instruction, which is a standard way for an application to request a service from the OS. Next is the abort mode. This mode is entered in response to a memory fault such as when a program tries to access a memory address it doesn't have uh, permission to use. And undefined mode is triggered when the processor encounters an instruction it doesn't recognize, one that isn't supported by the main core or any coprocessor. The next is the fast interrupt mode. This is for high priority time critical interrupts. The main feature is that a fast interrupt cannot be interrupted by a regular interrupt, ensuring it finishes as quickly as possible. It can only be interrupted by another interrupt. I'm sorry, I mean it can only be interrupted by another fast interrupt. And then lastly is the interrupt mode. So this is the general purpose mode for handling interrupts from standard hardware devices. An interrupt can only be interrupted by a fast interrupt, establishing a clear priority system. That's all. Thank you.